Dan, welcome to the Group X podcast, mate. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, Tone. Real excited to have a conversation with you, and buckle in. You never know what might come out of this conversation.
That's what I'm excited for, mate. I really am. Hey, the way I kick these off, and with all my listeners would know as well, a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into the products, the programs, what they're all about. So can you give us a little background on you, how you got into fitness and where you got to be where you are today?
Yeah, let's not spend too much time on me because we'll have people turning off really, really quickly. Yeah, I was actually like a really late bloomer in the industry. Never really properly walked into a gym till I was 40. So I had a steep learning curve, and then, probably around 45, just went and did my Cert 3 and 4, just so I understood a little more about what I was doing, with no real aspirations to get into the industry. And anyway, one thing led to another, and I ended up in the industry. Ended up with our own personal training studio out in Ringwood in Melbourne, in the eastern suburbs.
Yep.
And I'd done the MetaFit course prior to having our own studio. So when we opened our studio, we introduced MetaFit, and MetaPower was around then as well. When I did the actual workshop, was really good mates with Daniel Wilson, who was then running the courses in Australia. He was really the mastermind behind growing MetaFit in Australia. He truly was. Anyway, my partner Brooke, who we spoke about earlier, we've been together for 16 years, but she's Canadian. Yep. And at a stage, the Canadian franchise to run courses was available for MetaFit.
Oh, wow.
So we thought it was a good way to mix travelling and
definitely
and a bit of business as well. So we ventured down that path, and that worked really well. Sadly, we're coming up to nearly 4 years ago, Daniel Wilson. I'm not sure whether you would have known Dan. Yeah. He, like 38 years of age, like as fit as a mallee bull, was diagnosed with stomach cancer.
Wow.
Fought the good fought, but like the good fight. Sorry, but like I think it was. He told me probably in the March, and he was gone by the May. So it happened really, really quickly. So we great way to start a podcast. I know. Sorry.
No, mate. Look, it's where it's the history, man. It's where it's all come from, which is to me vital and important, and it gets people an understanding as well of what is going on out there. And they're topics that, while they hurt, it's life. It's real stuff that happens. It's not, we can't faff about, and they're real life stories. So I appreciate you sharing with us, actually.
Yeah. So he was a good mate. He'd been a mentor through all the MetaFit stuff with us. So building it up in Canada. Anyway, the long story short there is we ended up taking it over in Australia when he passed away. Mind you, like we probably were up and running for 8 months, and then COVID came in after that. So we sort of hadn't had a long go at it in Australia before COVID took over, and that sort of brings us roughly up to where we are today.
Right now, yep. So what are the programs? If you can, from what I had a look at, there's 3 different programs available. Yeah, am I right?
So we have 4. The MetaFit program, which is our body weight, it's the original program, is like our flagship product. And I know you're probably going to ask me the question anyway, but Justin Corcoran, he's the originator, it's his program. He does all the programming still. So that originated in the UK back in about 2008. So just a bit of his history. So he was in the Royal Marines in the UK and in the Special Forces over there. So he trained a lot of the guys in the SAS. So as you could imagine, it's probably really hardcore training, and I can't go into it too much because I'd probably have to kill you if I gave away all that. I think that's how the story goes anyway, something along those lines. So anyway, he got out of there and he opened up his own gym. and he decided at the time that any of the group fitness classes were more endurance-based, or he said more dance-based. So he was looking for something different. So like he developed his own program.
Yep.
And so it was really originally just meant for him. It didn't really, he didn't think that it was going to be this global brand. Yeah. And so it's grown quite organically, and a lot of people would say that it still is quite organic. I think we are a bit of the working class brand. We're not the shiny, glitzy like some of the other brands are, and that's not saying whether that's good or bad. It's just saying that we're different.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah.
So so he developed the program, and the urban myth is, and I don't want to take away from the urban myth, that he basically went to like an expo in the UK. A guy from Scotland just bailed him up and had a bit of a conversation, and he said, "I really like the look of what you're doing. Will you come over and run the programs for me?" And as it turns out, this guy had 80 gyms. So he went from nothing to sort of exploding quite quickly.
Yeah. Mate, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's probably sounds weird to some people when I say this. I appreciate those stories because there are so many talented individuals in this world that if you can sit back and design something and have the skill set to be able to do that, you're leaps and bounds ahead most people, you know, especially in our industry. And I'm not poo-pooing anyone that's in the fitness industry, but the majority of us, especially group exercise instructors, are parrots.
Yeah.
Hey, go do this. Yeah, we go do it. You know, and that's what it is. It was made really easy for us. But the talented individuals that have got a skill set to design a program like MetaFit, like what he did is to go out there and do that. That's huge. The skill set that comes with that. It's not. It's. You can be taught it. But you've still got to have a passion. You've got to have a drive in order to actually get it from something that's just twirling around in your head. Something that's actually doing, and then other people are going, "Hey, dude, you know what you're doing there? I'm over in Scotland. Come over here. When you're chucking into 80 gyms over here, let's go for it." And that's nice to hear those. I suppose the history or the legend of where it all began.
And to be like really honest, and like I would tell you if I wasn't, I think I would. Hopefully, I'm not that biased, but his programming with MetaFit is still amazing today. You know, and like we're like 15 years later on. Like I just did the latest workout today, so I don't do any of the programming at all. We do the education side, mate, and it's just still terrific programming. It's real. Like you would think all this time that maybe it was repetitive or something like that, but. Now, I'm not saying every workout we've done in 15 years is brilliant. There would be a couple of soft ones there, or like all Group X instructors, they would have an opinion on, you know, what works and what doesn't work. But yes, just doing the one tonight, it's still as good as it's ever been. So so just so that was the original program, and looking at Justin and knowing the way I know him is that like. Because of that original program, he didn't want to just start rolling out programs because he needed to build more revenue for the company or anything like that. He only wanted to develop a program that he actually truly believed in. So it actually took some time before he developed MetaPower, which is there's a lot of the same as far as timing and everything done for the trainers, but this is equipment based. So we use kettlebells and slam balls and bags and battle ropes, but that didn't come out till like 2016, and he didn't do it until he thought it was going to be useful, that he would do it, so he doesn't just rock that program out. So that's our probably. I actually did see that's more like equivalent to like an F45 program or Fit Body. I think I saw on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, Les Mills coming out with a new program based.
Yes, strength development. I've got a chat with one of the guys from Les Mills coming up in a couple of weeks' time to share what that is with the world as well. So they're looking at obviously doing something in that space.
Yeah, looks very interesting. So, like I think that'll be really interesting because like I could not be like a body pump instructor
Yep.
because there's way too much choreography for my simple brain.
Yep.
Like I would muck it up. Yeah. So when we look at our programs, it's you're not doing the program, you're teaching the program and checking on technique and getting
Yes.
around the class, and that's part of it. So
Excellent.
that's why
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see their new program because obviously you're on different equipment, so it'll
Yep.
be interesting to see how that rolls out.
Yep.
We also have another program called MetaPro. So initially it was rolled out partly to say thanks for all our MetaFit coaches that have been involved with the brand for such a long time. Here's a program we're going to run out different workouts, and if you're a subscribing MetaFit coach, we're just going to give you these workouts.
Cool.
So it was just a bit of a thank you. And then there were some new genres. They're a little bit different to the MetaFit workouts. 3 different genres. I won't bore you with all the details, but they once our trainers have done that workshop, they just keep getting ongoing workouts from doing that. So it was more of a thank you.
Yep.
And then during COVID, initially, we'll definitely have a chat on this subject because we were definitely affected by it. But in the initial stages of COVID, Justin developed a couple of kids workouts for our trainers to be able to just get their kids moving during COVID. So it's not a HIIT-based program for kids because they shouldn't be doing it at that age group. It was just more about like there's lots of animal noises and mimicking animal movements and that sort of thing. It's just about having a bit of fun. So that was sort of released during the middle of COVID.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so they're our 4 programs.
They're the 4 different programs. Okay.
This is the Group X podcast.
So when was inception? When did MetaFit come to fruition? What year was that he?
So it was about sort of 2008, 2009 when Justin started it.
Yep.
But it was probably around 2015 so Daniel Wilson, he was badgering Justin. So he was from the UK originally, moved out here, like a really big personality. Had worked in gyms a long time, more in the sales side of things, and was a really good salesman. So he was just busting Justin's chops to say, look, I think this program will really work out here. Can I give it a go? And as I said, because it was quite an organic thing, Justin wasn't ready to franchise or develop it or have it go out. So that's sort of how it started out here. It's amazing. I reckon I've heard the story about there's about 2,000 trainers that think they did the first workshop in Australia, which could never have happened, But it's another interesting one of those urban myths that floats around. I did Daniel's first MetaFit workshop. Well, not all 2,000 of you could have. So
we'll let him roll with that though.
That's okay. 100%. Never let a good story get in the way of the truth.
Yes, so true, mate. That's why I got into podcasting. Oh, I love it. So, talk to me about the instructor pathway. What happens on a weekend training module?
Yeah, so we do a 1-day workshop.
Yep.
And we would, so you can be involved if you've got a gel certification, or even if you've started your Cert 3, we would tick the box and let you come through. So I actually really pride our brand on our education. I think our education is one of the best educations going around. And we'll probably upset a few people on the way through. We only do an in-person education.
Yep.
We don't do it online. I just don't believe in online education. We're talking about watching people's movements. HIIT training is all about intensity.
Yep.
You just can't do it down a camera. You just can't. So, so it's a 6-hour workshop. We have a bit of an intro in the beginning that all workshops would have, and then we pretty well jump into a class. We call it a master class.
Yep.
and we will be exceptionally hard on everybody there. Like we will really, really push the class, push the boundaries, because we want everybody to know what HIIT training is supposed to be like. So that's how we start the day off. And for me, from there, we almost unpack all that because we realise we've got to go back into the real world and the sort of people that we've got to deal with. But we break the day down there, so we do quite a bit of theory on HIIT training and why you should train like this and all the benefits of this type of training.
Yep.
And then we do theory and practical on warm-up, theory and practical on exercise, theory on running a class, and then everybody gets to run a portion of a class.
Sweet.
And it's a pretty full-on day because they're doing a fair bit of movement. And it's funny, because I think, like all of us, so I've done my Cert 3 and Cert 4, so like I'm a PT by trade as well. That most trainers will leave a workshop not talking about how much information they've learned. It's more about if they've had a hard workout, then they've had a really good day. So we find if we can absolutely trash everybody, they go away and they've had a good day, which has nothing to do with the learning that they've done during the day.
It takes their mind off the learning.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's just a 1-day course. Is there a silly question time for me? Is it pass and fail?
It's like a really good question, and as you know, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts over the last week or so. So like you have to have a structure where you have a pass or fail. Like we would normally go about it that if someone wasn't quite there, that we would say, how about you go away and keep learning it, and then next time when we do the workshop, you can just come along at no charge and reset the workshop and we can have another look at. So that would be like our worst case scenario. Because obviously the workout is there for the trainer to follow, but it is a little more freestyle than a proper choreographed, structured type class. So, and I just think trainers will get, like, when I did my MetaFit course, like I wasn't that great as an instructor when I left. I was a better instructor 3 months down the track. I was a much better
100%.
instructor 6 months down the track. And when you get back in front of your own audience, because you own your own audience, you're going to be more comfortable straight away compared to doing it in front of a bunch of your peers. It's really challenging. I know we have to do it, and you've got to sort of had that little bit of pressure for everybody to get through. But yeah, we would try and guide most people to get through, and probably if people are on the borderline, they're screening themselves on the way through, they'll make contact and go, like, what's involved in the day, and I just want to check that I can get through it. And so there is, but it's the fail part is not implemented very often.
Yep. No, and that makes sense too. And I asked that so that if there's anyone that's listening to get a bit of an understanding on, what to expect going in to the course. I know virtually every course you do these days, there's got to be some level of competency before you're able to walk away and go, cool, go, you're safe, you can go and do that. Go for it. I think it's more for me when I ask those questions is to get the basics so they have a bit of an understanding going in. Some people aren't that confident to ring providers and ask questions. They'll jump online, rock up and go, oh, wow. I remember from my days of doing indoor cycle experience stuff with Network. Yeah, some people bawling their eyes out at the end of day one. It's okay. You know what? You're here to learn. There's pass, there's fails, but at the same time, if you're working yourself up into that much of a state, you're not going to get through it. So take a deep breath, stop, look at what you're doing, look at what the others are doing around you, implement what's going on, and you're going to get through this. But no, I appreciate you saying that as well. I appreciate you elaborating and telling us a bit about that. The next question I wanted to ask you was with relation to the workouts and music. Is it use your own music, or is it
no? So part of the certainly when it started, a lot of the commentary was in around our music. Because it is a little wacky. It's a little funky, a little wacky, but it is really just put there as a background noise. Like one thing that Les Mills does with their music is brilliant. Like they know how to, like especially if you're looking at RPM, they know how to put like good tracks in at the right time. Yeah, it's amazing, their music. With our training, like if you can hear music or hear a beat or a rhythm, that's the last thing we want going on. It's not meant there for that. So there is background music there. It is a little wacky, but it's not supposed to invite you into having any sort of rhythm or any case to stop and listen to it at all because of the type of training we do. And the upside of that is that any trainers, they're not paying, once they've got our program, they're not paying, well, what's the name of the company now that you've got to pay?
One Music.
One Music,
yeah,
which is like they're thieves. Like it's so expensive to do it. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud then? Yeah. I did say we might take a few people out on the way through. So,
I have no issues. There's no anything can be said on this channel. I do not care. It's all we're all good.
So there is music there, but it's all because they're licensed as a MetaFit instructor. Like it's all free of any other outside costs to them.
Yep. So the music is music that can be played anywhere at any time without having a license.
Yeah. So which is so. If I can just clear that up too, because that always gets a little confusing, but I want to be crystal clear about it. So when you sit the MetaFit course and when you've successfully completed it, like you're a MetaFit coach, but you're not licensed to teach our product. From there, it's a subscription-based model. So it's $19.95 a month. When you originally pay that, you get 4 tracks, 4 starter tracks, and the track that's current for that month. So that's 5 tracks. And for that price, you get a new track every month. That drops down. So with that, so because you own all that as an individual trainer, if I went to Tony's gym and I'm going to teach MetaFit at your gym, you don't have to pay any licensing fee because I pay it. So you can use the MetaFit logo, put it up on your timetable, advertise it, use our logo and everything like that as the gym owner and not have to pay a cent for it.
Okay. And as a gym owner, where would I get access to those resources?
So you would have to find the MetaFit trainer who has the license to then do it.
Okay, so you would be coming in to teach in my gym, and I would say to you, "Hey Dan, I need the logos, etc., to be able to throw up on the timetable." And you've got access to them that you can. Sweet. Okay.
Yeah. So the license sits with the trainer, and then they can take that anywhere. And we actually have like an annual subscription as well. So for $199, you can teach that anywhere because you have the license.
The license to do it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So it doesn't need to be taught in the gym either. You can actually do it.
No. I think to be really honest, Tone, in Australia, like our business was really built off probably off mums starting off, and it might be a case of they've heard of MetaFit and they come and do the course, and then they get 3 or 4 of their friends to the local park because all you need is your phone and a speaker, and like that's really was the bread and butter of how MetaFit started in Australia. And we went from people starting off like that to ending up with building bricks and mortar gyms from just starting off out in the park. So you can in a church hall, in a park, in a big box gym, in a studio, like it can be taught anywhere. Wherever. So really quite mobile and easy to do.
Roughly how many instructors would there be in Australia currently?
Like probably subscribing coaches, there'd be a couple of thousand, but we would have had probably over 7,000 go through training. over the journey. Yeah. So
what would be some of the reasons that they'd stop subscribing or stop teaching? I put my hand up and go, you know what? After I'm now, this would be 20 years exactly this year for me if I was staying in the industry. But the last 5 years I haven't taught, so I probably won't go back to teaching. Yeah. I'll stay around, stay relevant in the industry, chatting to people and doing everything. But for me, that's the reason why I stopped. Would that be one of the reasons you think why people would be stopping? They're sort of getting to an age and going,
like that, and many other industries. I think like, and this was happening before COVID, but COVID for like even part-time people, that were doing sort of part-time gigs, they had to, like, I can't do this. I've got to find another way of earning an income. Like we lost not just MetaFit. This is within the industry. Full stop. We lost good people over the last 3 years. Because like I don't want to say poor us in the industry, but like you have to work really hard in this industry to earn an okay income.
Yes.
And I don't subscribe to the I do it because I love it. Like that's just bullshit.
Yep.
Like what you can do, how you can affect people's lives through group fitness, through personal training, through being involved in this industry. Like people couldn't pay you enough for the impact you can have on people's lives, as like we can go anywhere with this, and I could bowl you up for hours and hours talking about this, but so I think like lots of reasons, either that they leave the industry. If you look at I couldn't tell you what the current stats for the turnaround time for someone entering and exiting the industry, but it is massive and high turnover. I've got no dramas with someone saying, I've taught it for 10 years, I just need a change or I need a break, whatever that might be. Probably at the bottom of your heart, maybe someone's done it that often that they go, I've done so much of it, I don't need the tracks done. I can do it all myself now. So I've found another way of doing it. So you're always going to have that roll in, roll out of people. So like you're not chasing down people if they've cancelled their subscription or end up leaving, because that's just a fact of how it is in the industry.
Yes. Yeah. And is that something they control themselves online through an online portal?
Oh, no, to be really honest, if we had any MetaFit coaches, I'd probably, from what I've listened to, we probably have more Les Mills instructors listening than we have MetaFit instructors listening. But hopefully we can change this, because I'll make sure I post that we're doing the podcast.
Yep.
It is, this will open up another can of worms, but I'll have the conversation anyway.
Love it.
You could, before COVID, you could just cancel it. There was an online button and you could just push cancel and that would do it. Obviously, you can stop your credit card payments or PayPal and do it that way. But what we like to do is that, and I don't do it here, this is all done from the UK. We have an IT department over there. If we go through our IT department, and as an example, say it was you wanted to cancel your subscription, you can't email me and I do it for you, because your relationship is between you and MetaFit in the UK. Like it's not me. So because you're relating to them, I can't do it on your behalf. So what we do is there's a process that we take you through, which includes saving all the tracks that you've had over the years to pop it into a library for you to use for your personal use. And now if you just cancel out, what happens is that doesn't happen, and then you've lost those tracks forever.
Okay.
So, and then the discussion.
I'll be honest and say that is, I think that's a fucking fantastic idea.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason I needed to cancel, I can actually get in contact and I'm still be able to hang on to the releases, hang on to the music that I've got, the tracks, so that I can still do my own stuff. Mate, who knows? I may turn around in a couple of years and turn around and want to come back. The fact that I've got him still there, I think is brilliant.
And if you do come back, everything just gets reinstated.
Yeah.
So you're not starting from scratch.
That I like, because that's making shit easy for instructors.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
It just, sometimes the communication of how that happens gets a little bit lost, and trainers might get a bit frustrated, or the UK's on UK time. We're not a 24-hour operation. And the other thing that comes up is it's for private use, not commercial use. And a lot of people, we have this come up quite a bit, because we have a coaches page, and I know most genres have their internal coaches page to communicate with their trainers. That is this theory that I paid for that track, so I should be able to whatever with that track. And the fact of the matter is, you've paid to be able to have the license for that track, not to physically have that track. It would be a little bit like unsubscribing from Netflix and saying, I want all those movies that I watched.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it for you.
Yeah. So during COVID, I did nothing but watch TV for 6 months straight. So Netflix, I'm going to cancel my subscription, but I want every single episode of whatever I watch.
Movie. Yeah. So,
no,
I think it's a reasonable outcome. Like, we'll definitely have it there for your private use. What we don't want you is out still teaching on those tracks, earning an income from teaching that and not contributing to the ecosystem. I think it's like a fair and reasonable thing.
Oh, mate, there's the honesty system that's in place. I mean, I saw it working with Les Mills. You would come across clubs that have instructors teaching the program, but the clubs aren't paying the license fee. Clubs, I didn't know they were doing it. And it's like, yeah, okay. There's that honesty system that's in there. And I think majority of us will do the right thing. In the industry, the majority of us want to do the right thing. You're always going to come across those that don't. You're always going to come, and I know back in days of Sydney, and those that if there's people that turn around and say, "Oh no, Tony, that didn't happen," I'll say, "Well, bullshit. I know it did." I'd accidentally leave my CDs lying down. Next thing you know, they've disappeared. They come back a day later, and it's like, "Oh, hang on, I know that instructor didn't buy that music, but all of a sudden they've got that release." It's going to happen no matter what. That type of stuff is happening, but we would prefer and we would honestly hope that most people are honest.
This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah, we our trainers are unbelievable for the most part. Like, if they'll know if someone's teaching it in their area, or there's a club where all of a sudden a trainer's popped up teaching it and they know that they haven't done the course. So like you said, it is the honour system. There's not really a lot we can do about it. Like, it's not our job to run around and find people that are coaching when they're not subscribing or haven't done the course, or like, all we would say to anyone doing that, obviously it would probably make you uninsurable at that stage if you're not licensed to teach the product. If something was to happen in that class and the insurance company comes looking for the trainer and go, like, we'll look after that person that was injured during your class, but just show us the license you had with MetaFit at the time, and you go, oops, well, I don't have it. So we're trying to protect people as well.
Yes. Yeah. No, I like that. I like the fact that there's music that's able to be used without having to pay additional fees. I like the fact you get it. I like the fact that it's a monthly subscription. To be completely honest with you, I think that's where the industry probably we need to see more of that. Not wait for, like, and it sounds like I'm poo-pooing Les Mills when I say this, but I'm not. But you're getting 4 releases a year with Les Mills.
Yeah.
You got to wait for it to come through. Then you can mix and match. Getting something regularly, getting something on a monthly basis that's able to keep it a bit fresher. That, you know what, yes, guys, it's not pre-choreographed. It's not to the beat of the music. The music is there. There was a workout coming through. But for you to be able to tailor that and keep it fresh for your members is exciting and is new. Not new, but it's exciting and different from what majority of instructors are doing out there.
Yeah. And like, we have so if you've joined just recently, we'd have a library of over 100 tracks that you can then go back in and purchase for that $19.95 as well. So they're always there, sort of available. It certainly, like, especially in the current environment, like, gyms are looking at ways of trying to save money and cutting costs. And if you're paying big license fees, you start looking at things, don't you? So, like,
100%.
It's not saying we don't have a license, but it sits with the trainer, and it is portable, that the trainer can go to as many gyms as they like to be able to teach the program.
So what is the format of a class? Can you run us through that? How long does it go for? Is it half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour? Give us a bit of detail around that if you can.
Sure, yeah. So we would base it all around a 30-minute class. You shouldn't need any longer than that. The tracks vary in time from probably about 14 to 17 minutes. And like we have like 18, 20, 22-minute tracks. 25 minutes is probably the longest.
Yep.
For me, the sweet spot is around that sort of 14 to 17 minutes. I think that's a really good workout. So you do like a really good warm up, and we spend a lot of time in our workshops on the warm up. If I take sort of my MetaFit hat off and just put my trainer hat on, if I'm allowed to do that, especially if you're doing like an afternoon class, if you can spend a bit of time warming people up, trying to help them forget about the hectic day that they've had, help them forget about the argument they just had with their partner coming out of the door, or the kids whinging at them, or something went wrong at work. So the warm-up's really important, and we sort of give you plenty of opportunity to help chase the day out. It is really important with what we're doing with HIIT training that the warm-up is thorough and you're ready to go. When you're doing HIIT training, like, it's not for a long time, but we're expecting big things in a short amount of time. So we want you warmed up properly, ready to go. So you'd really almost want that drop of perspiration on the back of your t-shirt just before we start the class. So that's super important. And if you think of let's say, pick on a 14-minute class, you're probably only moving, because we have work and rest periods, that you're probably only moving about 8 or 9 minutes.
Yep.
So,
but you are pushing.
Yeah, well, I could definitely, and if we go back to when Daniel started introducing MetaFit in Australia in the first years here, and he was really good at, like, he was quite a vocal voice in the industry, and he was loud and proud about HIIT training and how it's supposed to be done. And like, I still agree, we are the original and the best. And so we would, if we saw someone's program that said it was a HIIT class and it was 45 minutes, there's no way it's a HIIT class. Yeah, it's just going too long. You can't keep up that pace. So, like, I would always honour that, and that's what HIIT training is all about. But as a Group X instructor and a trainer too, we have to be mindful of who's in our class. So obviously, I know you've recently had an operation. So if you were coming in to do my class, like, we'd have the conversation whether a HIIT class would be the best thing for you to be doing. But you might go, like, I just need to move at the moment, Dan. And so I would go, all right, well, we're going to regress everything for you. I'm not going to expect you to work at the highest level, but your mental health is really important to me. So we'll get you in, we'll move you through the class. Would it be a HIIT training session? No, it wouldn't be. But would have we had you moving and had you leaving the class feeling a lot better about yourself and the world and all that sort of stuff?
100%.
So why I would still jump up and down and say, we are the original, we are the best, this is the only way to do proper HIIT training. I understand that we have humans out there that we've got to deal with. And as I don't want to get too frou-frou, but as a Group X instructor, you're trying to read the room to see where everybody is, and absolutely slaughtering everyone might not be the best thing on that day, Don't get me wrong, if they're up for it and we're ready and I know everyone and everyone's there, I will pull every last bit out of you to make sure it's there. But we've got to be flexible and be able to do everything in between.
Mate, you've nailed something there, which I had a chat to someone about recently, and it's reading the room. You need to teach to who's in front of you. It's as simple as that. This is what I've got to get out. This is what I've got to do today because that's the release that I'm doing. You've still got to tailor it to who's in front of you, because if you don't, someone hurts themselves, you're screwed. But if you don't, and 3/4 of the class, they won't come back. If you're pushing them too hard, or you're pushing them, or they're not engaged with it, and you're just in there going, well, this booklet I've got here says I've got to do X, Y, Z. That's what we've got to do, no matter what. Push yourself as hard as you can. You've got to teach to who's in front of you, and I think a lot of instructors get it, but there's still probably a whole heap out there that don't, and that's what they're missing. I think the instructors that have been around for a long time, that are mentors to some of these younger ones that are coming in, share your knowledge.
Yeah,
Share that along
okay.
with them. Get them to understand what it is. You know, whether it's a Les Mills program, whether it's a radical program, whether it's MetaFit, whether it's freestyle spinning or whatever it may be. Share what we've got in the way of knowledge.
Yeah. I
You know,
think
at the end of
for
the day, as you alluded to earlier on, that we're here for the people that are in our classes.
yeah. I look at especially the last 3 years, like, and I'll go back to my pet hate of like online training, or like we've actually got mainly kids, but I know obviously older people can come through too, but people doing their Cert 3 and 4 online, and then they get in front of people and we can have a whole other discussion about where Cert 3 and Cert 4 sits,
Yes.
We certainly
Yep.
have people, I know we're not on radio, but we'd certainly have people yelling at the radio right at the moment,
Could you imagine if I did a podcast where we allowed people to dial in?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
You should look
My
at that.
God.
Maybe you
Hello.
could have a look at maybe a group of your popular guests and have a round table and a dial in. I'm sure
Ooh,
that would be a
you've
good
got me
event.
thinking there. You might have to come back for round 2 of the show.
Yeah. Well, see if we can get more than 2 listeners to this one, and we'll see how we go.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
wife and my mum. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's where that's why I think our education is like really quite good. So if someone, and mind you, and I did my Cert 3 and 4 a long time ago. I think when I did my Cert 3 and 4, I learnt about how much I didn't know rather than how much I did know. And I learnt more, obviously, from getting in front of people. But like our education and our program is a turnkey. You can take it, go back, and have it all done for you, so it can help you get through those early stages. I think it's really important. If we look, I look at like the franchises, and that's a whole other discussion. One thing that the value of what the franchises bring now is like at least some beginning education for trainers that are new in the industry. If we say we pick on an F45, if you're a young trainer and have just done your Cert 3 and 4 and get to go into an F45 class, even if you're just cheering them on, you get to have a look at bodies and how they move and what direction they're moving in and what mistakes they're making. It's actually like brings really good value to the industry from that point of view. I think it is a really good pathway for trainers to get involved. So,
has anyone set up an F45 style with MetaFit?
No, like we've probably chatted about it. Like we'd have to have Justin on board, and like as I said to you earlier, like he wouldn't do something unless he truly believed in it. Like definitely, we'd have a lot of coaches that all they do is run our programs, and it wouldn't be a gym as such. It would be more like a hall or something like that, but they just run all our programs out of that. So, and mainly MetaFit and MetaPower, which is the equipment-based program.
But I could, as an example, I could turn around and open up Tony's Powerhouse and just run MetaFit classes throughout the day. So as an example, I could run 2 in the morning, 1 at lunchtime and 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's like we're like really quite generous with the brand. If you, you're in Wollongong, yeah? Yeah, so I won't give your address away, just Wollongong.
It's on the website anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I want people to come and visit me one day.
Yeah. If you wanted to call yourself MetaFit Wollongong, we would be okay with that. Like we want to share our brand around. The more people that are aware about it, the better, So as long as you weren't abusing the privilege and weren't running a not very good operation, then we'd be okay with that. And as you know, if you tried to call yourself Body Pump Wollongong, you'd get a cease and desist letter fairly quickly. Yeah, so we try and be really generous with our brand and branding as much as we can do, because it builds your profile and builds ours. But 100%. If you were going to set up a MetaFit space, and with MetaPower you still use equipment, but it is like kettlebells, slam balls, power bags, and battle ropes. Like there's a bit of cost involved in your kettlebells. They're not cheap, but they do last a long, long time. Bags and balls are not that bad. So, gee, forget about the cost of leasing and painting the building and doing all that. But as far as equipment, yeah, you could have a really inexpensive space set up, just like tagged off the back of our brand for sure.
This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah. That's got my brain thinking. But anyway, I'll park that for the time being because I think it's something that, from my background, as a PT when I started in 2003, before we left Sydney and I went to work for Les Mills, it was something that I was contemplating doing, was going out, setting up a small studio and just doing circuit style classes. Yeah. I was running a boxing group 2 times a week outside. I was doing my PT, I was teaching my classes, but it was the circuit style training. And if I had looked into it properly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something I would have decided to do and gone, okay, you know what, go train up in the MetaFit courses, do the training, but then open up a small studio, because when your overheads aren't going to be massive, there's not a lot of equipment, as you said, that's there. It's a room, your rubber flooring, you've got your tunes going, you've got the workout in there. I don't know what F45 or some of the BFTs are charging these days, but back when I did it, 6-7 years ago, it was $33 a session.
Yeah.
If you're charging that, you can still make a fair amount of money from what you're doing and run it as a boutique offering. Still by only running 5 classes a day. I think there's something in that I'll probably investigate myself a little bit more.
I think like our program is definitely built around trying to be on the more inexpensive side of things. So you could definitely do at a cheaper price. And as you know, you're looking for probably at 300 plus to have an F45 studio or a Fit Body or any of those out there. So they're not really built for PTs. They're really built for business people, the franchises. And as I said, like I'm all for the opportunity that they create for young trainers coming through, but they are supposed to be a money-making machine because people are going to invest a lot of money into them to make them successful, and they want a return on their investment. So we could, do you have an opinion, if I'm allowed to ask questions back, on where you sit with franchises? And there are 1,000,001 franchises out there at the moment.
You blink and there's more popping up every single day.
Yeah.
I think there's a space in the market for them. When there's still 80% of the population not training. I think there's a space.
That's the scary thing, isn't it?
When you turn your mindset to who's not engaged rather than who is.
Yeah.
And I think every time I see a new boutique or a new something out there pop up, I think, you know what? Cool. I hope you're trying to tap into those that aren't currently engaged in the industry at the moment, or doing fitness of some form or sort in some way. People that come in and just try and do stuff so it's within that small pie that we've got. The pie's diluted. It is so diluted, it's not funny. When I see them come through, I really do hope. But unfortunately, if you jump onto Google and you Google any of the franchises out there at the moment, you are going to see a ton that are for sale.
100%. Yeah.
At the moment, there's a lot of people struggling. Even some big box gyms are struggling with it at the moment.
Yeah, like I definitely have had a couple of conversations with trainers that have sort of managed to get their way through COVID, but now the economic side of things unfortunately for some people, the first thing to go is their gym membership. Which should be the last thing to go, as you and I would agree on. But so I think there is that little flip that we sort of, I don't even know if it was a great surge when we reopened. Maybe later on in the year, people were finding their feet, but it probably didn't surge back like everybody thought it was going to. Then it sort of got a little bit better, and then it's sort of starting to turn back the other way again because, everyone's purse strings are tightening up and it's really challenging. So now that you've brought it up, I don't have the answer, but given that you were talking about it, how do we get that other 80%? Because that's
$1 million question.
like thought about this a lot lately. I don't want to get too fluffy, but like those, I think about like when I went to school, which was a bloody long time ago. Yeah, that the kids at a younger age, at high school age, that if we had been able to get them involved in physical education or just doing some sort of movement, and I'm talking about like the kids that got picked on, like I certainly wasn't one of the cool kids at school. I certainly wasn't picked on. I
I was
certainly
cool in
wasn't.
my own mind, man.
Yeah. Oh, you were probably just cool, Tone, but that's okay.
No, I can assure you I was not. I was the big unit that everyone
Yeah,
would look on it. Some people would just try and have a go no matter what. And I was like, man, I'm just keeping to myself and just,
yeah.
a
But
gentle giant that sat over there.
you would know, I can think of it, everybody listening, if they just sat back for a second now, would be able to go back to school and go, probably have a handful of kids that go, I wonder whatever happened to that poor person, and they'd be part of that 80% that aren't training. And like, I'm not saying that fitness is going to solve world peace,
Yep.
but gee, for like obviously starts with physical health, but mental health is huge for mental health, and the difference we could make to that 80% if we could find a way to, whether it's starting in the schools and getting those kids that that were picked on and aren't moving, to build their confidence and have movement and build strength and all that sort of stuff.
I mentioned in a chat to someone recently, and I'm not sure who it was. It was on the podcast, that I remember for sport, for school, we're going to the gym, going to the local gym, and we didn't have it. There was no teacher. The teacher was there to supervise, but no one really watched what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was, cool. You go in, there was pin loaded stuff or whatever. You went there and you had a bit of a basic stuff because one of the PTs or something that was there on the first session took you through something really basic.
Yeah.
Really, really basic in the gym. But I think that you've got a point there. If it starts back then in school, and we're getting kids engaged, doesn't have to be in the gym, but doing more sporting activities.
Yeah.
That they follow through. I'll be honest. My daughter has been going to my first gym. The kids gym. There's one down here.
Oh, yeah.
She's been going since she was just before she started going to school. So she was 4 years of age. It's only just in the last year that she's gone over to do gymnastics because she found that she enjoyed the gymnastic side of things more than what she was doing at my first gym. But the stuff at my first gym was absolutely amazing. They were getting the kids, the confidence that my daughter would come home from one, being in a room of other kids that she didn't know. Because that can be still daunting for some kids.
100%. Yeah.
To having skill set to jumping on monkey bars or the rings and doing stuff like that, or even walking on a beam and doing a somersault, that kind of stuff. The skills that she learnt from that were just phenomenal. I don't know, because I think that goes up to the age of 16, but then I don't know what happens after that.
So if we're on the daughter pathway, if I talk about my daughter, she's a little bit older than yours, but I've probably been around the planet a couple more times than you, so that's okay. She played football with her brothers when she was younger, and this was back before we had sort of girls' teams. She played with the boys and played right up until, you could start to see the disparity, so probably around that sort of 11 and 12. And she did netball for a couple of years after that, and at about, I think... she'll pick me up if I'm wrong, maybe 13 or 14, she started cheerleading. So competitive cheerleading. And to be really honest with you, Tone, it was the most amazing thing to happen for us as a family, because I didn't have to go through that bratty 14, 15, 16. Like, it didn't happen. And we didn't have any of that conflict around drinking, because she was so into this cheerleading, and they were hard on them, Sunday morning training, you're part of a team, you've got to be here. If you're not here, you're out of the team. It was really quite disciplined. So it actually got me through that stage where most parents are pulling their hair out, in a really grateful way. And then probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, she got out of cheerleading and into CrossFit. And mate, she's a beast. Like, she can push heavier weights than I can. And like, I'm not weak. I'm not strong, but I'm not weak either. And the confidence that this 25-year-old girl has through the fitness stuff that she's done is unbelievable, you know. And it's certainly more about that than my parenting skills, that's for sure, you know.
Yeah.
Especially like if we pick on young women, that I would just want to see them have confidence in themselves through, you know, and it can start with Group X, can't it?
Yeah, mate, and I think that's this day and age, you know, if I I'll rewind for 1 second. I had to start paying a gym membership 2 years ago for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Close to 20 years, whatever it was, because I got into the industry and, well, you didn't have to pay, did you?
Yeah.
You were a PT, you're an instructor, you're doing your thing. I left the industry. I was still teaching part-time down in Canberra until we moved up here to Wollongong, which was 6 years ago. I didn't attend a gym for a while because of the hip stuff that was going on. I was in too much pain and wasn't going. I should have bloody been. It was the stupidity part of my head that said, dude, just go and do something because it's better than doing nothing.
Nothing,
Yeah, and I ended up having to pay a gym membership, and I walked into this gym, and it was interesting to see a different demographic to what I was used to when I was in the gym.
Okay, yeah. In what way?
Yeah, I'm in it's not a regional town. I'm on the coast. It's Wollongong. It's 100 south of Sydney, but it's a leisure centre. Yeah, different to a big box gym. It's a big box gym, but it's a leisure centre. It's got a pool, got courts, all that kind of stuff going on as well. At 5:45 in the morning when I'm going, it's a 50 plus age group.
Mm-hmm.
I do my weights. I go for a swim. I get out of the pool. As I'm coming back from the pool past the weights area, and this is maybe an hour later from once I'm doing what I'm in there at the moment, it's a different crowd.
Yeah.
I'm starting now to see the 18 to maybe 30-year-olds in there. Yeah. The older ones get in earlier. Yeah. They're doing it. Then the younger crowd starts coming in.
Yeah.
Some mornings, if I'm late doing what I'm doing, I'm not there at 5:45. I get in there. It's like 6:30, 6:45. There's a hell of a lot of people in there that are in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
That aren't going into group exercise classes. They're actually in the gym doing something in the gym.
Yeah.
I think the big question for me, and the big question for the industry is, how do we get that younger demographic into group exercise classes?
Yeah.
The same group exercise classes that I've been doing for the last 20 years, if I was lucky enough to have a kid back then, who my kid would be, let's say 20, 25, like your daughter is at the moment, would your daughter be wanting to do the same classes you did 20 years ago that you're still doing today?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No,
I'll be honest,
no,
I think there's a lot when you think about it, and I'll use Pump as the example. The leisure centre that I go to, the Group X manager there said to me, "Hey, Tone, we're really struggling. How do we fix this?" I said, "Well, the simple thing is, who's coming to your class?" "Oh, no, hardly anyone's coming anymore." I'm like, "Okay, why?" "We don't know why." And I said, "Okay, let me throw something at you. Go back to all the old releases of Pump. Go back into the 50s, release 50 through to release 60 or whatever it may be. Do a best of, do some of the old stuff and approach people or put it on social media to let people know what's going on. Yeah, you're going to be doing this." I let it go for a couple of weeks. I went and had a chat to him. Tone, the classes are full. What ended up happening was the latest music that was coming through wasn't gelling with those members anymore.
Right, yeah.
The new stuff coming through, the instructors were doing the right thing as they're meant to. Yep, I'm meant to teach this, get it through. The workouts were landing, but the music was not. As soon as they went back and did some of the older stuff and played to their teach to who's in front of you, numbers started to go through the roof again.
Yeah.
But they weren't finding that they were getting any of the younger ones coming through.
Yeah.
They weren't getting them when the new releases were coming through, but they also weren't getting them playing the old releases. But what they were doing is engaging their members that are there. Now, it's engaging some. It's not getting new members to come into the gym.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we do that in group exercise space. You know, whether it is, as an example, don't do Pump anymore, go and do MetaFit. If they're doing MetaFit, don't do MetaFit, go and do something else. Whatever it may be, mix it up, but look at who your member is.
Yeah.
To what you can actually offer them or what they're looking for.
I think younger people too, because they're so much savvier to technology and there's so much on social media. no disrespect to Pump, maybe a little bit, but if they're watching all this, and we could argue all day long whether they should or shouldn't be, but if they're watching all this cool stuff on social media, which if you look at CrossFit, might be bar muscle ups or snatches or rope climbs or something like that, and they're looking at old mate in body pump with his plastic weights doing a squat in the back of the class, like that's not appealing to them. Now, I'm not saying they should have that they should go out and do those sort of movements, especially if they haven't been trained in it, but they look at all that stuff and then maybe look at some of the group classes that are on. Although we'd probably look at F45 as an example, has been able to catch probably that 25 to 35 market because they have that funkier music. They have sort of a little more sophisticated movements that happen within that class. Once again, we could argue about whether watching a movement on TV is good education for someone or not. But they've tried to, and that's why that market probably took off when it did, But yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think I've been thinking a little bit lately of maybe even the group classes could be rated in a way. So maybe like a Zumba might be a zone 1 because it's a really good starting point. It's good for you to be doing something rather than nothing, and that's really good. And if we accept, before everybody starts yelling at the radio, I know it's not a radio, but if we accept if someone's happy with what they're doing, we're not talking about that person, if they're in their own. So I don't want to have to say apologise every time, but then like pump might be zone 2 because it's their first introduction to some load, but there's going to be a stage where if we're advancing people, we want them to come outside of pump because that's not going to be the answer after a while, that what would be the next thing, how do we further their strength training? If I can circle back around too quickly, I think that was the main thing in the beginning when I did MetaFit as a class, is what sold me on MetaFit was they said, don't do our style of training every day. You should be doing strength training 2 to 3 times a week. And then if you can do our product once or twice a week, that's all you need to do it. Whereas, all franchises will be come in and train like this every day of the week because we need you to keep coming back in. And yeah. But yeah, if there was some sort of like grading system to drive people to go, all right, I've done pump for a while. I feel like I've reach the heights of that. What's the next class? And it could be done within the gym. This is not trying to get people out of the gym. What's that next advanced movement or class that I can do to progress myself? So you've got those interesting classes to get the kids into, but they've come off some sort of base.
This is the Group X podcast.
Yeah. I think there's two words, consistency and variety.
Yeah.
Consistency in getting in there the whole time and keep going with it because you're going to get your results from going. But variety in what you're doing, because if you do the same thing over and over again, you plateau. You'll see your results at first, and then you start going, oh, okay. And if you're doing the same stuff forever, nothing's going to change. Mix up what you're offering. And I think clubs need to also look at almost prescribing group exercise for their members. No one's done it before, but I think it's the next evolution or the next step in the industry of, you know what, cool. If you've got someone that can only do pump, cool, get them in to do pump, but get them in to do a yoga class or a cycle class or something else as well. And slowly introduce them to getting in to do a HIIT workout, a MetaFit workout. Get them in there to do that over time. Look at what your offering is and work out who you're getting into your gym. Who you want to put into the group exercise space. Why can't we tailor them a program? Never been done before. I want a personal trainer. Can you write me a program? Personal trainers write a program. It's periodized. It's whatever it may be. You're doing your strength, conditioning. You're doing this, that. Cool, there it is. Go for it. Come and see me again in 12 weeks or whatever. Why can't we do that to our Group X members? Why can't we offer that as an industry to go, you've come to Tony's House of Fitness. We offer group exercise. cool. I've sat down and I've got to know you. I've done my pre-screening with you. You're looking for these results. This is what I recommend you go and do.
Yeah.
We don't just offer one variety of classes. We offer a whole variety of classes.
Yeah.
And I think that's, to me, is where instructors need to take their blinkers off and see that there are other programs out there that they're not teaching.
Yeah.
And that's not to poo-poo on one over another, but just lift them off. Have a look and see. I had a conversation with someone Tuesday last week. A gym rang me, turned around to Tone, we're getting rid of cycle classes altogether. This is, cycle programs, this shit, it's not working for us anymore. Cycle's dead and dying. And I laughed. I laughed out loud and I said, the program's not dying. I said, it's not the equipment. I said, it's your instructors that have gotten bored that couldn't give a shit teaching anymore. And I know there's going to be people that hate me for saying that, but what? It's my podcast. Who cares?
They're yelling at the radio.
But it's so damn true. If a program doesn't work, go to your instructor first.
Yeah.
Programs are designed. If programs were shit, they wouldn't still be around.
Yeah.
If someone is out there that's designed a program and all of a sudden we see that program's not here anymore, it's because it hasn't landed and it was crap. It shouldn't have been here in the first place. But I think every single program that's out there is out there for a reason, because they're tailored, they work. They know they work if they're implemented correctly. Gyms need to start looking at their offering. It's the easiest way to attract your members and retain your members by making sure that the offering you've got is spot on.
Cycle and spin will never die. Like, there's too many people that love that. Like, I love a really good cycle class. It's
I crack up at it and think, then when this guy said to me, he said, "Oh, Tone, the cycle's dead and dying," and I said, "Yeah, that's why in America, Soul Cycle Bar, all this kind of thing." I said, now there's, I think it's Cycle Bar that I saw pop up again here today. There's boutiques coming to Australia. Yeah. It might not be the cycle class that you and I are used to, where you get in, you smash yourself and do it. It may be push-ups and tap backs and all that kind of stuff, but it's still a cycle class that, hey, some people love them. I can't comment because I know. Look, I cracked up the other day when I was chatting to Karen Gorn from Spinning in relation to it, the previous podcast. But I turned around and said, look, I'll be honest, I can't comment because I've never done one of those classes. I want to go and do one to experience it. So there is fitness involved in it. Whether it's I don't know what the fitness is because I haven't experienced it, so I can't say. But I will go one day.
I've done a Soul Cycle class.
Yep.
And it was very expensive because you've got to have their shoes, and it was not my cup of tea.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the thing is, as we were saying before, they're trying to tap into that 80% that aren't training.
Yeah. Oh, look, if the recipe is that I'm going to get someone in there that's not doing anything at the moment, then 100%. That's amazing.
Someone's moving. Whether I believe it's safe from the education that I have or not is a complete different kettle of fish. But the fact that a boutique can open up and attract people to come in, to get them moving, they're no longer sitting on the couch, mate. I tick that box. Go for it. Go and have a whole lot of fun, and just make sure you're doing it safe. You don't hurt yourself. Yep. Cool. Bring it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Part of me with this whole Group X thing is spreading the word. Yeah, there are so many. There's 65 that I've looked at, and today again there was another 27 individual programs that I found that I didn't even know existed.
And then if you add on to that, like if your F45 is a program, you just don't have exposure to it, or BodyFit or 9 rounds, they're all running internal programs. We would never get MetaFit into F45 because it's all. So if you add that on top of what you were just talking about, it means there's so much out there. But I actually I think your conversation about how we get the other 80% in. I know your podcast is definitely all about Group X, and a lot of trainers are attracted to it, and that's really good. But if we could work through, like, that's the space we should be working towards. How do we get that other?
How do we get those people into a gym?
Yeah. It's like an amazing discussion point. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I want to go back to MetaFit for a second because I know you've got some courses coming up. Tell us about some courses. How can they get in contact? Because obviously there's a link from the Group X page under courses that they will be able to jump through to click on for the individual
Sure.
programs we spoke about.
On our website, all the course dates are up there. Like we did at the start of the year, to the best of our ability, try and put dates all the way through the year. Obviously, pending on nothing going wrong, or like obviously if there's only a few sign-ups, we then have to react depending on what's happening there. So
For sure.
if you go to our website and then there's a tab, become a coach, and then course dates will come up under that. So we have courses in all the states. We have master trainers in all the states, and the beauty of all our master trainers are it's normally in their gym and they teach MetaFit within their space. So when you've got instructors going in, it's actually someone using it every day within their space. So, and because we've got such an amazing bunch of gifted master trainers, if anybody wanted to learn something from them because they're in that state or needed a mentor, getting into the fitness or starting their own business, all these guys would be brilliant to talk to.
This is the Group X podcast.
Now, I think probably in our general conversation we've covered everything about our program and how it works. So yeah, I don't think there's anything, like obviously like my number and emails on the website. So if anybody wanted to get in contact, like we do, we will do, like we've got like someone from Tamworth we're speaking to at the moment that they've got quite a few people interested. So we're going to travel there and do the workshop. We've got another gym that's up in, I'm not going to say it properly, but Weipa, which is right north up in the really North Queensland. So like if you're in a more of a remote area, like obviously we've got to have enough trainers to make it worthwhile, but if like even the opportunity for Brooke and I to get away, like we will try and get there and come and do the workshops, and as long as we can sort of cover our costs and get there and get education in your area where no one else will come. That's sort of.
Mate, I think that's fantastic. I've heard of program providers in the past that will turn around and say, cool, okay, we want to try and get there. It's going to cost this. I know of instructors that have even turned around and gone, you know what, we don't care. If there's 7 of us here, tell us what it's going to cost you. We'll split the cost amongst 7 of us. We know it's going to be a bit more, but we want to be able to do it. So, mate, I think, and I'll say to anyone now, is if you are in a regional area that is out there and wants some training like that, reach out. Have those conversations, because you never know. If as you said, if you and Brooke were able to get away and it was going to cost you X amount, and they're able to find, 7, 8, 9 people, whatever it was, and split the cost, it's going to be a little bit more than what training might be. But if that can cover the cost to get you guys there to do it,
mate,
100%.
And I would just reinforce out MetaFit and MetaPower. Like it is really solid education. It's really, really good. If we, like, I'll just digress for 1 second and I'll be quick. But when we had our studio in Melbourne, like we were there over lockdown. I'm now in Airlie Beach, so in far north Queensland, and so quite a bit of a change. But like I would have done over 500 Zoom classes when we were locked down, and mind you, there's lots of trainers that did that number of classes. But apart from education, MetaFit is something that's not allowed to be taught online either. So that's part of your license agreement, that I can't teach a class online, or you can't do it on Facebook or any of that stuff, because we actually believe that technique, quality of movement is important. And if we're doing HIIT training properly, intensity is really important, and you can't control both those things looking down a camera, so we don't do that. But what we did do is, like it won't mean anything to you, it will to MetaFit coaches. I might take a move, I'll use a move that's universal. It might be a burpee, but I would have spent half an hour using a specific MetaFit exercise of really breaking it down, regressing it in the beginning, just stepping it out, getting mobile with it. And I only need like 4 or 5 minutes at the end of the class to be able to get everybody's heart rate up and moving. But it gave me an opportunity to really break down single exercises out of MetaFit in easily palatable way for everybody to understand that we wouldn't get to do during a class. So when we actually came in live and did MetaFit, everybody had improved so much because like, and I'm not skillful, I'm just another bloke. I'm just an average Group X trainer at best, but that gave me the opportunity from what I'd learnt from MetaFit to use those skills, not to use MetaFit itself, because I wasn't allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to teach that online, but I could use the skills that I'd learnt from MetaFit, from the education, to then make it better for everybody, that when they came back and did it live, they understood a movement that, you know what it's like, you could demonstrate a move in front of 20 people and you'll have 10 different variations 2 seconds later, because everybody's interpreted a different way. But that gave us the opportunity to be able to do that. So like rolling back to, like, I think the education side of things, because it's not choreographed, you don't have to learn choreography. It's nothing about that at all. So
it's
it
not
is
8 counts of this and 3 counts of that.
Of which I would be shit at, by the way. But so it is all about regression and progression and making, you know, good quality movement. So that would be the only thing, is it is really good education.
Yeah. Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show and having a chat, mate. I've honestly appreciate, because I'll be honest, I came into this not knowing much about MetaFit. I knew very, very top level, but I appreciate the fact that you've been able to share some of your night with me, having a chat and giving us an understanding on what it is, mate. So thank you so much.
Oh, mate, it's my absolute pleasure. Like, I'd really take my hat off for what you're trying to do. Like, you're not trying to make anything out of it. You're just actually trying to do something really good for the industry. And like, we have a lot of really good people in the industry, don't we? In fact, there's so many good people that we don't know, because good people are just out doing their thing. You know, so I just want to say thanks to you, and keep up the good work, that you're really doing a good thing and a good service in what you're doing. And I wish you all the best in whichever way that might be for you.
Dan, thank you. Thank you so much.
Tone. You're welcome.